Alright, so this is the Piper Archer PA-28-181 walk-around / pre-flight. So we're going to start with the preliminary external inspection. You can pull up the QRH on Centric. So that's, I'm just going to go line by line and the most efficient, in-depth, or effective walk-around that we can do. So starting with the preliminary inspection, you kind of just want to have a general overlook of the airplane. You want to make sure that there's no, cracks, huge dents or dings or anything like that. You want to make sure that the airplane is not obstructed by anything. We don't have a pitot cover, so we don't have to remove that or anything. But just the general condition that it looks pretty good to start. Then we move to the cockpit preparation. So let's start with that. All right, so first thing we're going to start with is, first one is the Vision G1000 camera. The new Archers do not have the camera. It usually would sit right here, but if you're in an older Archer, it has a camera right there that you need to make sure is intact. Rear seat, you want to check, make sure there's no FOD or debris or anything. So here's the binder. Let's get that out of the way. You want to just take a quick look underneath it. You can kind of sort of see it. Maybe Garrett, you can come a little closer. But you just want to make sure there's no FOD or debris under the seat. Extinguisher, you want to make sure it's in the green. It's located in the seat here between. Make sure that's in the green. That's good. Control wheel restraints. We're going to remove the red restraint here so we can check the surfaces later. I'll just leave that dangling like that actually. Mixture is going to be idle cutoff, so all the way back. And park brake, we're going to want to set the park brake. Okay. All the overhead panel switches are off. Left and right mags, super important that these are in the off position. You don't want to be around a live prop, so make sure those are off. Okay, we're going to turn the battery master on. And this is going to load up the G1000, and we just want to switch our tank to the lowest tank. So let's see what that is when it loads up here. They should be maybe around the same. Yeah, they're around the same. Left one's a little bit lower, so we are actually on the left-hand tank already, so we don't need to change that. Pitot static drains, we're going to drain those. There's two little buttons down in the bottom there, so we just push those in, drain that real quick, like so. Okay, those are drained. And then we're going to turn on all of our exterior lights. So landing light, nav light, strobe lights. Let's do a quick walk around to make sure that all those are intact. Okay, so we got our strobe light here, flashing white. We have our green nav light, this white on the back. That works. Got a landing light right here. Okay. Here's our stall tab. We just want to make sure you can kind of hear that. It's going to say stall inside the aircraft. That works. Other landing light, strobe light, red nav light, white backlight. And we have the red flashing fin strobe on the back. You also can check pitot heat. However, since we're in Arizona, we really don't have any icing, so you could turn that on inside and tap that. Since today there's no risk of icing, it's nearly 100 degrees outside and we're not flying in clouds, I'm not going to check that because I don't need to. Okay, so we checked all of our lights and our stall horn, so we can go back inside and continue. Okay, so we checked all that. Cockpit preparation continued. We're going to turn all the lighting switches back to the off position. Pitot heat we would turn to the off position, which it already is. And battery master is going to go back off. Flight controls, we want to make sure they're free and correct. So full scale deflections to each side. Make sure it moves nice and smoothly. If you have a sticky yoke, please do not use the red or pink fluid that you use to clean the windshield. That is going to make it worse. Call maintenance, text maintenance, and they will come and lubricate it for you to make it nice and smooth. Cool. We're going to extend the flaps. So, flaps. Like that. Cool. Alright, starting off with the right-hand wing, you want to check the flap. Check the flap, it's nice and secure. Look at the hinge. Make sure it's intact, nothing's loose, that's all good. If you come underneath here, you can take a quick look at all the hinges and everything. Make sure that's all good. Make sure that little wire, grounding wire's there too. We have that. Good. Okay. We're going to move on to the aileron. On the top here, we have the piano hinges. So you want to make sure that all those are intact. When we move the aileron, we want to use the palm of our hands like this on this reinforced part right here. Make sure it moves nice and freely. And looking underneath, make sure there's no bird's nests or anything in the little cracks or crevices. Make sure this hinge looks good. You have that little wire at the end there. Cool. All right, we got this static wick on the end here. I want to make sure that that is intact. Coming around to the wingtip, look under the wingtip, make sure there's really no scratching or anything. If there is, put that in the tech log, the cosmetic issue section, so you're not blamed for that. Okay, coming around in front here, you have the stall strip. You just want to make sure it's intact and that is present. Underneath here you have the fuel drain right here, or vent, so make sure that that is clear and obstructed. Coming underneath here we have the fuel drain, so you take your GATS jar, drain the fuel, check, make sure there's no water in it, and you pour it back in the tank. Tire, you want to make sure there's no bald spots with the tire, and there's no fluid underneath the tire. That would indicate that the brake lines are leaking, and that's not good, so we want to make sure that's good. Also, if the tire has a red dot, which this one looks like it does, just very faint, you want to make sure it aligns with the yellow stem cap. Make sure the tire is not sliding along the rim. Okay, coming around to the front here, you have the fresh air inlet. You want to make sure that's clear and unobstructed. Okay, we're getting into the nose and cowling section here. So the general cowling edition, it looks pretty solid. Windshield is clear. We're going to check, open up the oil filler cap here. We're going to check the dipstick level. We want at least 6 quarts of oil. CAE minimums. You can see here on the stick, we're just over 6, so that's good. Put that back in the dipstick. Make sure all these air inlets are clear. There's no bird's nest or anything that's blocking them. You have your cooling fins in here in the front, these front holes. You want to make sure again they're unobstructed, not being blocked. Prop, you want to make sure that the prop has no dings or dents in it, no chips. If there is, obviously, then that would be another issue. But you just want to make sure it doesn't have any of that. The spinner is intact. And this air inlet, you want to make sure it's free and clear. The tire looks good, no bald spots or anything. Cool. Moving on to the left-hand side here, we got another fuel drain. So you drain your fuel, you check it. Cool. Make sure there's no water in there. Coming around to the other fresh air inlet, make sure that's clear and unobstructed. Again, looking at the tire, no bald spots. Make sure there's no fluid underneath the brake lines. It all is clear. You have your other fuel drain up there too, and you have your fuel vent right there. So make sure those are clear and unobstructed. Coming around to the front here, we have our other stall strip. We have our stall tab here. We tested the stall tab earlier. We have our fuel tank right here. So you can see in there, that's the tab line. If the fuel is at or above that tab line, it means it's at tab. So that's 17 gallons on one side. So you just pour all your fuel that you tested back in there once it's done. You got your OAT probe right there. So you want to make sure nothing's blocking that. And you have your pitot fin right here. And you just want to make sure that there's nothing blocking the front hole or the bottom drain hole on the pitot fin. Cool. Again, we already tested the lights. That's all good. Same thing as the right-hand side. The ailerons here moves up and down nice and freely. Piano hinges on top are all good. Look underneath. Make sure there's no bird's nest or anything that's made a nest inside this little crack. So that's all looking good. Flaps, again, make sure everything's sturdy. Check the hinges on everything. Take a quick peek underneath. Make sure all those hinges are intact too, which it is. Okay. Coming around to the back part of the fuselage here. This is a vent for the fan and the blower. Make sure that's clear, unobstructed. You won't see the AC door open. It should be closed. If it's open, then the previous crew didn't follow the checklist. But make sure that there's no scraping or anything underneath here. That all looks good. Okay. Here's the stabulator. So we want to make sure it moves up and down nice and freely. We want to just do it gently, not too forceful. Moves up and down nice and freely. And we have our anti-servo tab as well. That moves up and down, or our trim tab. When we move this, we don't want to move it with the trim tab. You want to use the outer parts here. Okay? Looking in here, you want to make sure nothing is built up and everything is intact here. A couple nuts and bolts in there. Everything looks good. And then just the rudder. You don't want to push this. You just want to make sure it kind of feels nice and sturdy. Everything looks good there. Looking under the tail again, there's no like strikes or skin or scratches, because that would indicate a tail strike. And again, you would want to make sure that's in the cosmetic log so you do not get blamed for it. Okay. Coming back around, you got your ELT door, make sure that's good, and you have all these antennas, your VOR antennas, your ELT antennas, your comms antennas, your GPS hockey pucks, your transponder stuff underneath, all that stuff. You want to make sure that those are all intact and not broken or snapped or anything. And that really conducts the walk around. Yeah, hope this was helpful, and this is the Piper Archer pre-flight walk around.